Welcome to Microworld at Home, episode 16, The Lost Aquarium. Just to give you a little background then, we basically every week since properly since the 2nd of May have been screening from our lounge in Margate. It's a 4x4 metre square space and it's filled with projectors and our interactive artwork. And every week Tim and I set ourselves little coding challenges and film challenges to build up the space. And also over the last few weeks we've been working with other artists, sound artists and visual artists, to add elements. And I'm very pleased to say, apart from the very patient Julia, we didn't actually impose this on anyone else this week. It's just Tim and myself getting back to basics, because last week we did an event at the Alt Art Ed Festival, that's the Alternative Art Education Festival that was hosted by Conway Hall, and we had a brilliant time, and believe it or not, that was even more complicated and it all worked. We did it on OBS and on Zoom, and throughout the day there were 70 odd people participating, and we did a session for 2 hours where we ran a programme that Tim wrote called Conway Hall, which I don't think we're going to have time to run this week, so we'll introduce you to it properly next week. It's a work in progress. And so this week, as I say, it's a bit more, it's back to basics. It's us reminding ourselves of how to use the space. And for those of you who tuned into us building the camera setup, it was because we lost our signal, we've tuned into another signal, and we also decided to change the computer we were working with, which may or may not have been the right thing to do. But I guess it gives you a chance to see how on the fly it all is.
But we thought we'd focus on water this week and the Lost Aquarium, Nicola.
Yes, that's right. So
which is an old project.
Yeah, the Lost Aquarium was actually a project that we worked on in 2013. It was I'm gonna I'll put it on the fish cam.
This was in Cardiff.
It was, yeah, it's Road Park Lake, and it turned out in Victorian times they had a small, a menagerie, and as part of it they also had an old aquarium which had been popular, and then it was dismantled. And so we imagined that the various tanks had perhaps been thrown into Road Park Lake, and all of these unloved and forgotten creatures had started to evolve. So we filmed, you can see some of the footage in the background in the middle wall, and we built latex models of creatures and put them in the boating pond. And put it on, I'm going to have to brighten up the camera, so put it back on that one. And we used an endoscope, or as Tim calls a boroscope, so it's an endoscopic camera that we put into the water and filmed these models under the water and with the sea. And also, I also wanted to bring in some other sea footage. So we've got a rather simple video camera, waterproof camera, and I go swimming in the sea twice a week. And this was actually in the Walpole Bay bathing pool, another Victorian construction. And this is filmed. I attached the camera to myself, and it's a rather glitchy sort of film, but you can see the water, the surface, and below it.
It's like mud.
Unfortunately, when lockdown started, the water is its usual sludgy sort of self, and then a few months in, it was beautiful and clear. Yesterday, the tide was coming in and the water was quite rough, so actually the water was a bit murky. You might be able to make out the legs every so often under the water. And
another thing we did, we've got a promo. Press M, Nicola.
Yeah, will it work? Oh my gosh.
Oh, no chance.
It might do.
Yeah, we did a promotional 1-minute video for Conway Hall.
Right, it's Tim swapping over the camera, and I'm going to load up one of my new programs. I'll take the video off. And the first one we've got is a wave.
Oh, an Acer projector.
Yeah. So I'm doing a little bit of promo. And I'm going to keep an eye on the time as well because, okay, we've got 10 minutes. Right, so I've got 4 different programs for this week. So I've got a wave. Oops. I've got what I call sea demons. A few weeks ago, I did the dolly demons for the sugarscape. So I've just coloured these green. I can see that's looking quite woolly on that camera. It's because the camera's zoomed in. Maybe if I turn it to, if I put it onto 4 cams, you'll get a better idea of it. Yeah, that, I'm afraid camera 2 is a bit dull. I'll have to get on top of that one. Okay, the next one I've got is one we've seen before, which is gliding rods, which just happens to be a favourite of mine. And then I've also got this one. I'll take that off. Noise and pixels. So it's little.
Have you had this from someone?
I have.
Where did you get it from? Open Processing. That's a good place to get things.
I can't remember. I had it. I've got a folder of processing, my own processing library full of things that have caught my eye. And as anyone who's dabbled with coding will know, it's a great thing to look at someone else's code and think, how does that work? And fiddle with it. So I actually...
That's called hacking. That's basically how most people learn how to code. And they don't teach it at school.
It was actually doing more than I needed it to do, so I stripped it back a bit. And I'd be lying if I said I completely understood it. But what was new for me was actually working with noise.
Can you swirl with the mouse?
No, I've actually deactivated that and I'm just resetting it with a button. But and this is something that we can both look at. But I was interested in having white horses, basically. But yeah, so it's using noise and it's using pixels rather than lines or squares. There are, I think, there's in the region of 16,000, maybe more.
Cockatoo failed.
Next week, Conway Hall.
I need to rewrite that one anyway. It's written with it was written back in Processing 1. Uses beads and DDF weird sound libraries, which I think they've rewritten all of them now, so it should be simpler. So we can definitely get that one working again for next week if we're redoing it next week.
Lovely.
So I'm looking at OBS. I'm going to connect. I'm getting a signal from Julia.
And so Julia's going to be responding to our theme.
Can you?
Which is the Lost Aquarium.
Let me just get this audio off.
And I'm going to turn us off and Julia starts. So I'm going to turn us
Julia's
off
on.
now. Wow. That was beautiful, Julia. It was amazing to work to. And I mean, I hope our visuals gave you some inspiration as well. Tim's going to talk you through what we looked at. But yeah, brilliant, Julia. And if you didn't record that, well, whatever, we'll definitely be working with that sound again. It's just fantastic it's really inspiring. Yeah, and you may have noticed that Tim and I kind of hardly moved during that because some really wonderful serendipitous things happened. So Tim, do you want to tell?
So it was worth battling to try and get something out because we don't know what we're going to get each week, and then Nicholas pulled it out of the bag once again. So primarily through one particular program, which is this kind of snaking worm-like thing that's going across the middle screen, and then we're just pointing everything else at that. I'm going to sort of whiz around the room and explain a few bits and pieces.
Do you want me to put the camera on each wall?
No, I don't want you to change anything because it's in a really great state where it's changing its colours on its own. We're not pressing anything. The cameras are looking around and then making everything red and then everything blue and then everything green. So I'm just going to go over and walk through some of the bits. So the big snake thing, this is one of Nicola's new ones this week. It looks like Illinois, something like that, Nicola?
Yeah, so it's using cosine. So in fact, although we're thinking of it as a snake and it's created this beautiful wormy structure, I'd actually wanted to create a wave. So very simply, it's a wave pattern. And
so it's something as simple as, and these are just circles drawn on top of each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
Up and down. And I can see there's a second one here. So someone in your program.
We'll have to have a look at that because because what I've done is I've got a video running behind. Believe it or not, there is underwater footage behind this.
Yeah.
And I've gone to 50%. Yeah, and I've gone to 50% alpha, and it seems to have revealed something behind. So we'll investigate that and see.
So yeah, it's giving this very fascinating layering effect. And then on top of that is this white one that's going up and down. This is just the dots that we have kind of every week in a tidal formation, so just going up, down, which kind of mirrors the snaky formation. And then on top of that there are these small coloured dots which are drippling down. They're coral.
Turn around to the microphone just to make sure you can hear.
Oh, it's easily loud enough, Nicola. This room's really booming. The coral you can just about make out here. I drew a coloured line along this radiator, and the coral is starting to grow here. So there's a blue growth and a
Let me see if I can
there.
zoom in on you.
You won't be able to on that computer. You can zoom in on this program.
I'm literally mean one camera.
Okay, well we're going to move around in the rooms.
Yeah.
And
Now I'll go back to 3.
Yeah,
and you've got the video as well. We've got feedback.
Yeah, so in the background there's a video, and these black lines are probably because one of the cameras is looking at.
We've got webcam feedback as well. So it's a movie layer and feedback.
So it's looking at itself as well.
Yeah.
And then the two side walls are also looking at the main front wall. But they've got an inversion effect. So if I go over here, you can see this. That's the middle of the screen, and then every point on this screen is being inverted through this point. So if it's far from this point, it becomes close to this point. If it's close to this point, it becomes far from this point. So it kind of flips everything around. So you've got this snaking, kind of horizontal snake line here. But on this one, it's yellow, it's changing colour. You get this kind of circular, infinite type shape.
Tentacle.
Same on this one as well. It looks like something's growing out of space.
Yeah.
And then dotted around on top of it, we've got the starfish here. Sun stars, some more coral reefs here. So basically, we're not pressing anything at all now. This room is now in a cycle of very complicated feedback colour patterns, which is amazing.
And this is, key to what we've always been fighting for in our Microworld is a cascade. Something that triggers something, that triggers something, that triggers something.
Yeah. And with feedback, you can go wrong, and the whole room can go bright red and then just stay in this red zone. But this is really nicely balanced, and I couldn't tell you why exactly. I don't know exactly what is pulling it back to being in this cycle, but it's really amazing to watch.
The starfish may be involved. One of a theme for a future programme is, what is it called? It's where we sit down basically and put our feet up. These pieces will eventually, something like these pieces will be in gallery spaces where people can interact with them. But when people aren't interacting with them, they need to do something. We've often had shows where we've got nothing on the wall at all. And not often, but we try to avoid it. But then there's an individual that says, go over there and try and talk to you and you'll get something. So
when you get something as rich as this going on, and then people can mess around and hopefully it pulls back in.
But we are going to have a Microworld at home where we literally sit down, because your cranes, so Tim has written some crane programs, and we're imagining that these programs will actually manipulate the sliders for us, so that maybe we can get a bit more on top of the signals and stuff like that.
I wasn't doing much for most of that last 10-15 minutes. I was adding bits.
Well, weirdly,
I
was reducing.
done nothing for the last 15 minutes.
Weirdly, I was actually removing
Yeah, you
things.
took the animalcules off,
Took
didn't
the
you? So
animalcules out.
can you control them with animalcules? I can't remember. I think they just swarm. There's a few different settings, but
At 5 minutes to 4, I can't answer that question.
but this is exactly the type of thing that we're doing Microworld at home for, to find these experiments.
Yeah. So we really had a bit of a mare, as they say, to begin with, but I am so, it's like, if anyone's out there thinking, what do you do when everything goes wrong? Just not stay calm, because we were going crazy, but just go on and on and on, because actually you don't know what you're missing. This is probably the richest feedback we've had in the space
We've
ever.
in terms of the way it's going through loads of different layers of colouring, yeah, it is.
So you can hear we're sounding pretty excited, and I'd just say again, thanks Julia, because
So I don't like
the
green
sound,
particularly, so when it goes green, I know good. I'm glad it's going to change to
but the sound works so well with that, and I think that inspired us to really try and just sit back and see what would happen.
I mean, this would be a great just 10-minute video. So look at it. It's got a symmetry as well. We've had a really bit of a struggle today, but
it was worth it.